내 피땀 눈물 내 마지막 춤을 다 가져가 내 피땀 눈물 내 차가운 숨을 다 가져가 내 피땀 눈물.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears is a fan-favorite performance and music video by renowned artist BTS, breaking a few records upon its release. But by being watched on repeat by many around the world, it left us kind of wondering what was the exact meaning behind everything in the video. For this analysis, I took to reading books by philosophers, poets, reading a lot of articles, watching videos, and also asking my world history teacher, Mr. Han, his interpretation of the video. Shout out to him because he wrote me back a 7-paragraph essay on the topic. Well, this is kind of complicated and long, so let's begin at the beginning. This may seem insignificant and almost like nothing has happened yet, but from my research, and as mentioned in the Wings short films, which will be mentioned again later in this analysis, we know that this video is largely based off of the story of Demian, written by German-Swiss poet Hermann Hesse in 1919. This book is a coming-of-age story by a child named Emile Sinclair and his path on losing the innocence of his youth. In the beginning of the video, we see the members enter the set together. This contains symbols of innocence such as Yoongi riding a bike and J-Hope being curious about one of the statues. Also notice how the museum in which the scene takes place has sprinkles of black accents added throughout, symbolizing that in the book, Sinclair is surrounded by a darkness in which he is slowly becoming aware of. This contrast of light and dark are complemented by the statues, most being of Greek and Roman goddesses, and one being of Perseus with the head of Medusa. The statues are replicas of ones that have symbolized things such as beauty, youth, romance, desire, chaos, suffering, law and order, and even motherhood throughout the years. Now we hear Mass in B minor by Bach playing in the background, which Italian musicologist Alberto Bato says is the most astounding spiritual encounter between the worlds of Catholic glorification and the Lutheran cult of the cross. We also see the members, all except for Jin, paired off into groups of 2. Notice that each group of 2 contains one member of the Hyung line, the eldest members or big brothers of the groups, and one member of the Maknae line, the youngest members of the group, creating a sort of mentor-mentee relationship in this context. Jin here is staring at the painting The Fall of the Rebel Angels, painted by Peter Bruegel. This is a painting depicting Satan's expulsion from heaven and his arrival on earth. This could possibly symbolize that the darkness of the world is starting to be revealed to Sinclair in pages 7 to 10 of the book, where he realizes that there are 2 realms that he knows of. One of religion and innocence, which he sees in his sister and when he goes to church, and one of darkness and chaos, which he sees regularly in the world around him. Jin is also positioned between 2 doors, one dark and one light, revisiting the theme of choosing between good and evil.
내 피땀 눈물 내 마지막 춤을 다 가져가 내 피땀 눈물 내 차가운 숨을 다.
Then we switch rooms to one which I believe represents the realm of darkness. Behind the members is a painting depicting Icarus and also a glowing neon sign that reads The Tempter. Yoongi then proceeds to cover Jimin's eyes with his hands. Since in this video, Yoongi takes both the role of Franz Comer, Sinclair's real first real experience with evil and darkness, and Pistorius, Sinclair's organ-playing mentor, we can conclude that this represents Jin, or Sinclair, being shown the realm of darkness, because when you cover your eyes with your hand, what do you see? Darkness. Jimin representing Sinclair's self here, which is in the realm of darkness, while Jungkook represents Sinclair's innocent self in the realm of light. At this point of the video, the song finally starts. We notice that most of the statues are gone, except the replica of Perseus on the left and replica of the Greek goddess Demeter on the right. Demeter in Greek mythology represented order and law, and at the time that the statue of Perseus was made in around 1545 to 1554, it represented a threat to democracy and order at that time. We also catch a glimpse of Taehyung sitting on a balcony, more on that later. Jungkook is now seen hanging from the ceiling in the same room that contains the painting of Icarus. Remember that Jungkook represents Sinclair's self that has not yet been exposed to the realm of darkness or evil. Taehyung, still on the balcony, has moved his position and is now sitting facing forward instead of to the left.
잘 알고 있어 이건 나를 벌받게 할 줄 Peaches and cream, sweeter than sweet Chocolate cheeks and chocolate wings But 너의 날개는 악마의 걸 너의 그 sweet 앞엔 비려
We are now transported to Yoongi in a dark room filled with haze. This room is located above the room where RM is seen lying on a couch. During his scene, he is preparing a drink called absinthe. This was a drug used in France around the 19th and 20th centuries. Along with the decorum in the room, which is similar to that used during that time in France, we can conclude that RM in this scene represents the author Hermann Hesse himself. Another interpretation of this, as suggested by my history teacher, is that this scene is symbolic of the French Revolution and how society during that time kind of just crumbled. Also, very quickly, there was a scene showing a hawk sparrow on fire. In one of the Wings short films, RM reads a quote from the book Damien that says,
"The bird fights its way out of the egg. The egg is the world. Who would be born must first destroy a world. The bird flies to God. That God's name is Abraxas."
Abraxas was a deity in Gnosticism that represented evil and good unified, both God and Satan. He plays a significant role in the book because throughout pretty much the entire thing, Sinclair's mentor Pistorius teaches him slowly more and more about this deity. In part, this also relates to Nietzsche's idea of the death of God. This idea basically states that the advancement of the resulting from the Enlightenment will eventually bring upon the death of God, because people no longer truly believe that there is a true good. Instead, the people have become worthy of replacing and becoming God themselves by going beyond the simple terms of good and evil.
내 피땀 눈물 내 마지막 춤을 다 가져가 내 피땀 눈물 내 차가운 숨을 다 가져가 One money 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 One money money
The next scene portrays J-Hope sitting in front of Michelangelo's Pieta. This is a statue that portrays the Virgin Mary holding her dead son Jesus' body. He is also holding an arrow out in front of him and then proceeds to draw the bow and arrow in his next scene. This again comes in later. Taehyung is seen under some sort of transparent veil. We also see a clip that is very cleverly edited together to make it look as if a drop of wax is falling onto Jungkook's fingertips, and then he places his finger in his mouth. This could possibly mean that Jungkook is finally getting a taste of the darkness or evil, since Jungkook is the innocent version of Sinclair, and the drop that fell on his finger was a green similar to the drug that RM had prepared in the video.
Money, 힘들어져 내가 도망칠 수 없게 꽉 쥐고
I think we can all make the connection between the table they are sitting at and the one in the painting of The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. Also, each member has a single apple placed in the plate in front of them. This is also a biblical reference of Adam and Eve. The apple represents temptation. In the Bible, the serpent told Eve that she will become like God if she takes a bite of the apple. Only God truly knows and defines what is wrong and right. So again, this is bringing up the topic of going beyond good and evil in order to be knowledgeable. The temptation is represented in this. If we go back to the book Damien, the apple comes up when Sinclair commits his first act of evil, which is stealing some apples in order to impress Franz Comer. In the Wings short film, no one except Jimin is actually seen taking a bite of the apple. This comes in one of the next clips. At the very end of this cut, we also see J-Hope, who was previously seen holding and drawing an arrow, finally shoot it to the right of the screen, which then creates a splash of color on Taehyung's face. J-Hope all this time has been standing in a Roman bath, which is a place where Romans would go to kind of relax and think. Since J-Hope is supposed to be Taehyung's mentor, this scene could possibly mean that Taehyung has gone too far down the path of evil and J-Hope has decided to finally do something about it.
내가 정신 못 차리게 Kiss me on the lip 수만의 빛 너란 감옥에 중독되게 네가 아닌 다른 사람 섬기지 note 알면서도 삼켜버린 독이듯 피땀 눈물 내 마지막 춤을 다 가져가 내 피땀 눈물 마지막 웃음을 다 가져가
The first significant scene we see now is one of Jungkook, or Sinclair's innocent self, with his mentor RM. As we saw earlier, Jungkook has finally gotten a taste of the knowledge of both good and evil, and he is now drunk on it. The apple comes in once again here. Jimin is seen with his mentor Yoongi, and he is holding an apple, while Yoongi is holding a blindfold. Jimin is now seen being shown the knowledge of both good and evil. Taehyung jumps off of the balcony he is sitting on, and behind him is a painting that shows the fall of Icarus after he got too close to the sun. Remember how we mentioned that Taehyung had gone too far down the path of evil, and perhaps this represents his fall from goodness. He too, like Eve, was tempted by evil, and when he got too close to it, everything collapsed. The veil that has been covering Taehyung through some of his scenes is being lifted, and we will finally be able to see what he has become after his fall from goodness. Jungkook is also now in a position where he seems like he is falling. That, along with the feathers that are floating around him, we can see that he is going down a very similar path to the one that Taehyung took. Jimin is seen being blindfolded by Yoongi and tied to the door in the room, although he seems kind of like he wants to break free. Many people think that this could mean Yoongi is trying to prevent him from going down the path that Taehyung and now Jungkook are taking. He has been exposed to darkness, but Yoongi does not want him to become inherently evil.
He too was a tempter. He too was a link to the second. The evil world with which I no longer wanted to have anything to do.
This clip has a lot of things that are very ambiguous, but as we've done thus far, let's go in order. The quotes which RM reads here says the following: He too was a tempter. He too was a link to the second, aka the second realm, the one of darkness, the evil world with which I no longer wanted to have anything to do. In the book, Sinclair is speaking about the character Demian. Demian is another person that Sinclair knows, and he tells him that he must learn to accept and worship the world as a whole, both good and evil. Now we hear Jungi or Pistorius playing the piece Passacaglia in D minor by Buxtehude. This is another connection to the book, as this is one of the pieces that Pistorius plays Sinclair in one of their lessons. During that same exact lesson, Pistorius tells Sinclair the following: All the gods and devils, whether among the Greeks, Chinese, or Zulus, are all within us, existing as possibilities, wishes, outlets. If the human race dwindled to one single half-developed child that had received no education, this child would rediscover the entire course of evolution, would be able to produce gods, devils, paradise, commandments, and interdirections, the whole of the Old and New Testament, everything. We also see that the members are all leaving the museum, except Taehyung covers Jin's eyes and reveals to him a statue we haven't yet seen. This statue is completely white, most likely made out of some sort of clay, and has black wings. He walks towards the statue and kisses it. This shows us that Sinclair has now fully embraced the world as Demian told him to, good and evil, light and dark, and as Mr. Han puts it, there is no going back. We also see Taehyung with gashes on his back. This supports the theory that he is reminiscent of a fallen angel. We also see Taehyung turn and smirk. He has finally convinced Sinclair that there is no true good. Morality is what he makes of it, and God is dead. This scene also reminds me of the end of the book, Demian, in which Sinclair kisses Demian. Then Demian tells him that if he wishes to find him again, Sinclair must simply look within himself. Demian has been a fragment of Sinclair all along.
내 피땀 눈물
In the last bit of the music video, we see color added in, splashing and bleeding everywhere. The knowledge of good and evil has set Sinclair free. We see Jin standing under a mirror, and a quote from Nietzsche in German that, when translated, reads, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." Jin has realized the chaos within him and accepted it. He is now a dancing star. He is aware of the world around him in a way that was shrouded away before. The statue of Pieta also crumbles, likely because in Jin's world there is no longer anything that is as pure as the Virgin Mary was. As we come to a conclusion, Jin looks at himself in the mirror and realizes his face has cracked. However, if you notice the flowers, one is a lily which symbolizes good things, while the reflection of it is a latress. Another name for the latress flower is the blazing star flower. This is supposed to represent the Jin in each one of the realms. But now he has the knowledge of both good and evil, so he can no longer just remain in one realm. Therefore, his face cracks. His world has in itself cracked. Jin is good, Jin is evil. Jin is not pure goodness, and he is not pure chaos. Jin, in a sense, has become Abraxas. All in all, the theme of this music video fits in very well with BTS's consistent message of self-love and self-discovery. We all at some point have to accept that no one is truly good and truly evil. We have to kind of go beyond those simple terms because, in a sense, like in the music video, they don't really exist. We have to come to terms with that and accept ourselves for who we are and accept the world as it is.